Hey everyone, and welcome to the 25th anniversary episode of the Super Mega Ultra Podcast. Hey, how do you know that this podcast hasn't been running for 25 years?
Well,
We could have done a podcast every single year.
Since we were
let
two.
me tell you something. Well, I was almost 3, to be fair.
So anyway, this is the 25th episode, which is really surprising because we actually made it through 25 episodes. So it's like an average of 2 podcasts a month.
One podcast. Yeah, well, let's see.
It's
I remember what the estimation
One
was.
podcast every 2 weeks. That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is
Almost.
2 a month, yeah.
Really depends on what month
oh
that
my
is.
god, whatever.
So anyway, we're going to be talking about a bunch of cool things, like the Daredevil Season 2, which comes out in, I think, this Friday.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to see some cool stuff about that and talk some more about that. But first, how's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Cool.
Pretty good.
Oh, and by the way, this is Sasha. We have on here our usuals, Sasha and Dennis, with myself, Wyatt Summers,
So I'm doing terrible.
At Wyatt Summers /Twitter.
/Twitter.
Last
Yeah, because you come first, then Twitter. They're a subsidiary of Wyatt Summers Incorporated.
Right.
Yeah, like you want to do the podcast on Tuesday, and that's when games come out. So I went and got a game, and I haven't touched it.
Is there a game that actually came out this week?
Sinron Kagura came out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not really like something, honestly, to be ridiculously excited for. Shinobi Versus was really fun to play, so I got Estival Versus, and I heard that just due to some camera issues, it's not as good mechanics-wise, but who knows? I don't know. If I could have played it, I would have known.
Hearthstone
I'm
had
just
new
playing.
content today as well. They dropped deck recipes, which I haven't gotten to play around with yet, but it seems pretty interesting for newer players and casual players, so you don't waste all of your time in your inventory trying to come up with a viable deck. They haven't done the wild and standard mode separation yet, which is the thing I'm really excited about. So
Yeah, and you used Heroes of the
how that
Storm for all
goes.
it's worth, because you got your card back, and you're like, I'm done.
I did not know.
Card back, done.
No, I've
I'm
been
outta
doing
here.
my dailies, but I've had so much to do, and I've been playing LA Noire now, and it's so I gotta bust people. That's
It's
what
like
I've been doing.
LA Noire.
Yeah. This is irrelevant.
Take a better man than me to tie this to the ground.
I liked LA Noire, and I hope that they one day take the time to make a sequel of it. At least someone can find a way to make a better one about that.
LA Blanc.
I mean, you guys know what happened to the studio that created it, right?
No.
So the studio, you've heard of the whole thing about crunch time with video games, right? Like in the last maybe week or two before the game can actually be produced, a lot of the developers end up staying the night at the studio for a week or two and everything. And they were talking about the harshness of that one of I think the company that made LA Noire, where they were staying overnight and then they weren't really getting paid that much because they couldn't afford to pay them anymore, and they were sleeping at the building for a month or two or something crazy like that. Like their family hadn't seen them in years. It was kind of insane.
But what about it?
I miss you.
But yeah, all that controversy happened, and then the studio closed down because of it,
Oh, okay.
because they weren't paying their people or something like that.
Yeah, it's illegal to not pay someone when they're working.
Now that actually happened as well to the Crysis people. People made the Crysis game. We're not getting paid for 2 or 3 months.
That's
It's
ridiculous.
insane.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, pretty much.
That's why I don't want to be a video game developer anymore.
Well, that's what I was sitting there. We were watching that thing, and it said the guy in Arkham Asylum. There was a guy who spent 2 years just working on Batman's cape animations. I'm like, yeah, I want to be this game developer. This is what I want to do for a career. I'm like, yeah, what'd you do? Well, I worked on how Batman's cape flutters for 2 years straight. I mean, that could have been fun.
You're like, yeah,
if
man,
they were-
I realized that was really flowy. It was a good job.
Yeah. I mean, they did a good job. So thank you for putting 2 years into that.
At least with Batman, it's a dignified thing. You're making Batman's cape.
Like, this bad.
That's
It'd be
legit.
funny if you zoom in close enough, you secretly see hidden face inside the flaps or something.
He has
you know?
a little signature
Put his
in one of the
initials
folds.
and
Yeah.
for confesses to a crime or something.
It's like the Neil Caffrey thing. You have to hold the mirror. You have to pause it and hold a mirror up to the screen. And
What was that? He said, look at the bonds under polarized light, and it has his signature in it.
oh, the other ones where they're trying to use a thing to to frame him, isn't it? Where they do that because
Curtis
they
Hayden.
use the mirror at some point.
What about him here? I don't know.
Like only half of the initials are written, so you put a mirror up, and it reflects it, and
I don't even remember
blah
that.
blah blah. I think it
So,
only
yeah.
works with those certain letters that are.
So this
Has everything to
weekend,
do with Crisis.
this weekend, a movie came out called 10 Cloverfield Lane. Have any of you guys seen that yet?
Oh, it actually did come out this week?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
See, I was
No.
under the impression for the longest time that it's a show.
Oh no.
It's like
So what they've done is I mean they had that original movie that was a handy cam movie, you know, where you saw like a kaiju, a giant monster attack the city the entire time. And this movie was secretly filmed and no one really knew about it. And they finally put out a trailer maybe a month ago, you know, before anyone even knew about the movie. And of course, it shares the title of Cloverfield, but they've said, you know, specifically that this may not tie in at all to Cloverfield. It's kind of from what I've seen it already, so I can tell you, it is almost like it has elements of the movie, but it's not necessarily in any way really linked to that movie.
so then what? They're just trying to like put out something saying, "Hey, we're the people who made Cloverfield, so you should
And
watch this."
it's not even the people. It's not
necessarily
necessarily
the
the people who made Cloverfield. J.J. Abrams is tied to it, which he is part of Cloverfield, but the director himself is a brand new director. And the funny thing is, the last movie of Cloverfield was also made by a person that was not a director. I mean, that was his first movie as well. So I think people are kind of assuming that it's linked to the fact that like maybe it's people that J.J. Abrams taught, or like, you know, or people that are under J.J. Abrams that are finally making their first movies. And, you know, they do tie into somewhat, they have similar themes and stuff like that to the other movies, but at the same time, they're not necessarily.
A wind flare in every shot.
It kind of like if you want to think of what is that show, the horror movie show,
American Horror
Story. That it's kind of think of it like that. It's like, but not necessarily with the same people.
See, I
though.
feel like though with this though, at least those they have common. I get what you're saying about the common themes and stuff, but from what it seems like, they're just trying to, I don't know, ride on their coattails, I guess. Like, hey, everybody was all about this, so let's include that. You know, I don't know.
And, you know, I mean, I kind of wanted to bring up a review about it, about what I thought about the movie. I want to say that, like, the characters are really good and the story is really good, but the thing about the things that tie in Cloverfield with this Cloverfield, they feel like they're kind of just an afterthought. And I think a person has told me that, like, in some articles that they mentioned that this story was originally a story that was written, and then they thought, why don't we add this part to it and make it a Cloverfield story and just tie the name into it. Because unfortunately the thing about Hollywood is that things that do well are sequels and things with a familiar name. So, you know,
National Lampoon's everything.
exactly.
That's a whole empire now.
I mean, maybe one day if movies had the director's name titled on all of them, like the way books are, you know, this is Stephen King's, you know, It and stuff like that. You know already who's making it and everything. If they did that, maybe it would work better than having everything be a sequel. But, you know,
I feel like they just did that. They cut out the middleman. You know how they'll have trailers and stuff, and they'll be like, "From the people who brought you, blah blah blah," and they'll have all these movies, and they're like, "Yeah, let's just skip all that shit. We'll throw it in the title. They'll get it. They'll get it." They're like, "Hey, did you like Cloverfield? This is sort of like that, but not really."
Didn't M. Night Shyamalan do that on one of his movies?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if it was part of the title, but like you couldn't see the title of the movie without seeing like M. Night Shyamalan's something.
Yeah,
but those are like all of them.
yeah,
though.
most of his movies they
He
do
did that
that.
with The Last Airbender,
Yeah.
and he sure as shit didn't own any of that except for the. Oh God, don't even start.
Okay, we'll skip it.
Anyway.
But like I said, you know, it's got some interesting things. You definitely might want to. I mean, you would be interested to check it out. Me and my friend have been going all about speculating about different things about it and how crazy some things are on it. So, you know, if you're interested in a cool character fiction with some interesting things in it, definitely check it out. And then another thing I checked out this week was Spectre, the last James Bond movie, and probably the last one. What's his name is doing? Daniel Craig, yeah. So that one was pretty cool. A lot of people had some criticisms about it. But I think it was pretty cool. I liked that this movie, unlike all the other James Bond movies, which are really standalone movies, this one ties in a lot of the things with the other James Bond movies, and actually kind of makes what the second Daniel Craig James Bond movie, Quantum of Solace, did. Makes it feel like it finally kind of comes together, because in the second one they had this whole thing about a secret organization that was even surpassing, MI6's intelligence. There was something that was even more hidden than that, and this finally shows you that. And that was what kind of really bothered me about that second movie. So this makes that second movie actually feel a little bit
Turns
more.
out it's the Cobra Commander.
See, I only watched the first and the second one time each,
Mhm.
like when they first came out. So I really need to kind of get on that because I liked them. They were fun.
I
Yeah.
didn't watch any of them. I watched most of one of them a long time ago in the movies, and I just don't remember it.
One
I
was
remember the ball busting chair. That was intense.
yeah.
That was serious.
I feel like I brought that up in the podcast recently.
You did in one of the podcasts anyway.
Yeah, and like the I think the first one was probably the best, Casino Royale, just because it had the best action sequences where they're fighting on this like ledge and stuff like that. It's there are just a lot of cool things about it. Now, granted, there is the weird thing is they actually show poker, and you actually have to kind of watch a poker game, which is kind of boring on it. But everything else about the movie was really good. And even still to this day, the most things that tie into that to this last movie is that first movie. Because everything was just supposed to be like connected to that. So yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to some other interesting topics. So what do you guys think of Spider-Man's new look in this new trailer for the Civil War?
From what I heard, it's not a new look. It's been used in the comic, and people are like getting pissed about it. But like,
the eyes were kind of weird to me.
I didn't.
It was weird how they did that.
I didn't care too much, but like I do like the Amazing Spider-Man costume better.
Yeah.
Like I like that look better. I can't really say that it's gonna ruin anything for me.
Yeah.
Looking at it, and it'll probably look even better than just seeing like a small glimpse of it. Like in the movie, it'll probably look like a whole lot better. You won't notice it as much.
I think that
The one thing is, it's just kind of weird to see or to hear a Spider-Man's voice that's, I guess, true to his age. I mean, he does sound like he's a teenager. He's supposed to be a teenager.
He
in a lot
doesn't
of
sound like a teenager to me.
he sounds really young.
He
Like
sounds
even
like
younger
he's
than a
like
teenager.
12
Yeah.
or something.
I mean,
And he doesn't look very
have you
tall at all
seen
either.
17-year-olds now? I mean, they don't really. 'Cause, I mean, Alex is like, what, 14?
And he's actually 19, the guy in the
Yeah.
movie.
Really?
He is.
Wow.
He looks really young, and
See, I didn't see any of it. It has him outside of it. Oh, well, it would have him outside.
not outside of it yet, but I'm sure they'll show him like outside of it. He's 19. Did you know how old Andrew Garfield was in those last movies?
How old?
He's about 30 now.
Yeah.
30, 31.
Yeah, I looked it up, and it was really weird to me how old he actually is. Like, I was like, I never would have guessed any of that.
Yeah, I didn't think he was, in his teens. That's for sure.
I mean, he looks kind of like
He
I thought
he
like
does-
early
he looks
20s.
young.
yeah, early
Those.
20s. That would
He looks young, but he doesn't look teenage to me. I don't know. He was like I don't know. You look at someone's bone structure, it just kind of looks different whenever they're older. Whenever men's faces mature, I don't know. It just
less
looks
round.
different. You can tell. I guess it's kind of hard to explain.
I don't have any idea, but I wish I knew how old Tobey Maguire was when he started those Spider-Man movies.
He was definitely not in his teens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was
I
probably
think he was in
older.
his 20s.
Maybe he was
When
in
he
his
did them?
20s.
Maybe. Probably late 20s, I think.
But of course, like a lot of
The
those
last one was,
people
like,
that
27.
a lot of the actors, they look so much younger because I don't know, because they're rich. Who knows? But like, you see people like Keanu Reeves, and you look at him like, hey, I guess he was in his 30s. Like he's 50 years old.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to tell. I feel like Tobey Maguire is one of those people that's a lot older than he looks.
I mean, there are people that just look. They just
They
come
look
off as
young.
younger
Yeah.
anyway. They don't necessarily always have to be a Hollywood thing, but they do
Like Elijah Wood.
pop up a lot. I was literally
God,
thinking of
yeah,
Elijah Wood.
Wood's really
He
young
just
looking.
he will always be really young looking.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's the eyes. I think part of it's just the eyes. It looks like baby,
He looks
literally
sad.
baby eyes.
I like how people show like pictures of him 10 years ago and he just looks identical.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is really crazy.
But Spider-Man really hasn't been in his teens in years. Like it's not probably since like the 70s when he was like ever since then he's been like 20, 30. Right now he's a professor in college.
Mhm.
Like he's a college professor and he owns his own company now. So it's
In
like
Civil War.
no, not in Civil War,
Okay,
not in the
it's
not in the cinematic universe, but
Yeah.
like
It's like,
in
what?
in comics currently that's how like he is, you know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because they show him in high school in the movies, and
Yeah.
so I guess I don't know what he's going to be in Civil War. Do you know that yet?
I don't know.
I'm kind of curious because that seems something kind of big for a Spider-Man in high school. Maybe this is like an older one.
I think what they've said in the past is that Disney is trying to draw the kids to have them feel like they have their own superhero with Spider-Man. I mean, they already feel like that, but
Yeah.
and I think that's interesting and okay, but at the same time, I think that with kids, being one once myself, I feel that like a lot of times it's nice to have a kid, nice to have a person. They don't have to be like younger. They don't have to be
Yeah.
your age. If they're like an older guy, like you know,
They don't
like
have to be a kid for you to like them.
right, yeah, like I always felt close to the original Robin, Dick Grayson, because he was kind of like that character that you know was like a kid to Batman at one point, and then grew up and became this, you know, like you know Nightwing and everything like that. I feel it's kind of weird that they're having this character grow up when technically if these kids like love Spider-Man and start like getting into him, they'll see everything else is like he's an older guy.
Mm-hmm.
I have the kids that I work with often. They like to guess how old I am sometimes, and some of them. One kid one time was like, "You're an old lady though," and I was like, "I'm not even 30. Like, calm down,
You're an old
calm
lady.
down. Captain's older than I am."
You don't
He's
have
like,
to be old to act old.
He's like, "How old is Captain?" I said, "I can't tell you that. I just say he's older than me." You can ask Captain how old Captain is. But it's interesting how importance of age changes the older the kids get. Like, it's kind of like how the older you get, the less old your age seems. You know,
Yeah.
you used to think like
Yeah,
30-year-olds are
definitely.
old, and we're almost 30, and we're like, nah, like, you gotta be
You
way
have
up
to,
there.
you have to act old to be old. That's
you
what
have
I'm
to be
thinking.
way up there. So, yeah.
Because I'm gonna still be calling people, cussing people out over the internet and acting like a retard when I'm like 90. So I
But like,
sit
I
there
think
playing, talking shit on Heroes of the Storm, if that's still around.
Heroes of the Storm 3.
Yeah.
well, you hear a lot of the stuff about how people bitched about some of the more adult topics. Tony Stark, as just being who he is, he's a rather adult character,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the freaking pretty much all of them are rather adult.
They're all like
for
they're
kids
30.
to be looking at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just in everything they do, probably the cleanest one would be Captain America. So, they got to throw Spider-Man in there.
Mm-hmm.
As kind of like a suggestion, I would say that it would be really great for them to do something like the Young Avengers comic that they had a while back.
Or a Teen Titans movie.
Like the way the Teen Titans was, like where they're supposed to be.
It
Was supposed to
was
be.
not the way it is now.
Yeah.
God.
But it's those were it seems like with Disney trying to appeal to kids, like you'd think that would be one of the first priorities is to make a kids a team superhero thing, but I don't know why they haven't.
I don't know. Well, it's already popular enough. I figure they're not going to go wrong making
Yeah.
another Avenger movie.
But Zootopia beat Frozen. Yay.
Yeah, that is interesting. Have you seen it yet?
No, but I
Haven't seen
want
either.
to. I want to go see it.
Now, my question next is that like I think I've seen maybe a podcast or two talk about the fact that the Age of Ultron movie wasn't really like as stellar as people wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Like the question is, in your opinions, do you think that the Civil War movie could go that route, like where it's just there's too many cast members and it doesn't focus enough? It tries to tell this story that's happening in the next movie, or it feels like it's trying to advertise movies to you and not really try to tell you a story.
It's kind of hard because it could be I don't know much about the Civil War in the comic books. Like, doesn't it span several comic books, or does it span an era? How long does the Civil War actually go on?
How long's the arc, you mean?
I mean,
yeah, how long is it in comic book years? Yeah.
now like the Civil War storyline, they made it super cinematic, so I would say it probably takes place maybe about a week or so. Like, I mean, it feels like maybe a month or so, but you're showing these time skips of a couple days or so, where they're this fallout happens between Tony and Steve, and then like a couple days later, you see like them building the thing they plan on imprisoning the superheroes in, and all this stuff.
Was it its own, like, how you have the Deadpool kills Deadpool, and you have Night of the Living Deadpool. Like, you have all these different things, but they're published as their own little thing. Was it like that, or was it 4 or 5 issues in the grand scheme of Captain America?
Civil War was
that's what I was wondering.
Was a 7-issue miniseries that all took place in the Marvel continuity. So all this stuff did happen in the story. It wasn't anything that was just like, we're going to kill off these characters. And,
right.
Like this was all things that happened in the actual...
I think they'll just wrap it up within one movie then.
Yeah, they definitely...
I don't think they even need anything else to like segue into another movie, to be honest.
Well, I
kind of hope they don't.
What I was trying to say was that like...
They had the Galactus. They still haven't touched on that.
Galactus, they don't own Galactus right now.
Well,
it's a Fox thing.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have very much interest in Age of Ultron. And then when I went and saw it, it was like, it's, it was all right. It's another Avengers movie. It wasn't anything super special to me. This movie, I didn't have a whole lot of interest in it until the last trailer. And not just Spider-Man, but it just showed more for me. And I'm looking forward to it more now than I was before. So hopefully I'm not building that up just in time to crush it.
What I meant earlier was like not necessarily advertising for another sequel to Civil War. What in the last movie, Thor goes into this pool of things, and he sees this future pretense of what's going on with Asgard and stuff like that. And basically, it's him saying, "I need to go to Asgard," which is basically saying, "Hey, let's do the sequel to Thor 3 or whatever."
Okay.
Like I feel like
Disney
with
or like Star Wars did.
Yeah, like
We're
pretty
gonna
much
come back and wrap this up.
Pretty much just trying to tease you of what's to come, like with the Black Panther movie. This guy's...
I mean, maybe an Ant-Man one. Like, I'm trying to think who else they're gonna like branch off on, because everybody has their own thing. Maybe
And
like
so
a
many
they
people were
just probably
bitching that you didn't
Black
have
Widow
enough.
movie or something.
So many people were bitching because it's like, I expected to see all of these characters in the Civil War movie, and I only see this many. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel like you were the same person that would be like on the other side. If we did have a bunch of them, you'd be pissed because somebody didn't get their allotted time in the movie.
My biggest complaint about that though is just like with the Avengers in the movies, I don't feel like they warrant the idea of what Civil War was, because the whole idea of the reason why these guys are fighting is because Captain America's fighting for the rights to for vigilantes to keep their identity a secret and not have to work for the government. Iron Man is trying to have them all be registered and basically become government agents working for the government to save the world, and have to be trained in these things, and then
and to be kept in check too, not to just run around and do whatever the hell they want.
Right. So I mean that was kind of the point.
I've been on Team Tony from like the beginning.
But with the Avengers and everything, it's like none of them, they all work for the government. They're all characters that are all working with the government. Everyone knows their names. They don't have face masks that cover themselves. They aren't like the street type like Spider-Man and Daredevil is. Spider-Man, of course, is like the one person that they're going to kind of introduce into that. But it still seems kind of weird. It's just the one character.
They would use him as an example, right? Because he's not established in the Marvel Shield stuff.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well, let's throw Spider-Man in there. Is he gonna be, should we keep tabs on him or should we not?
Yeah. So I think that's kind of how they'll work with Spider-Man. Like originally that idea in place was meant for Black Panther until they finally got the rights to Spider-Man. But I can't really imagine that being with Black Panther, because I think Black Panther is actually part of the government. Like that's like the original Black Panther before him was his father, who was like the king of
Panthers.
yeah, of Wakanda, I think it is. So it's like his people know about that too. So I don't know how necessarily that one will work. Anyway, we're running long on that subject, so it's time to get to the super mega ultra news.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the cinema stuff first. Let's bring up the fact that Preacher now has a release date of May 22nd, which is one of the most iconic comic books that I've never read. So I have nothing to really say about.
Preacher's the one where the guy has the word.
The word of God. Yeah.
I skimmed through it. I liked a lot of it. Like that's kind of cool. I just hope they don't screw it up. You know.
I feel like speaking of which,
There,
skip down to the.
I'm gonna tie it in. Yeah. So there's a news article saying that Tom Cruise. I think people have seen some previews of it, and Tom Cruise has a cameo in it as I guess a preacher talking about Scientology.
Yeah.
I assume from what's been described is that these people are talking about all these religions, like each of them has their preacher, and it kind of skips to each of them, and I think something happens where like an explosion happens and kills them, so you see like Tom Cruise
All
explode
the
in
religious
this.
leaders.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise.
I feel like they're not going to do it like the comic books did it. Like I feel like they're not
I
going
can't
to
imagine them.
end it the way they did or anything like that. I feel like they're just too scared to touch on something that's going to piss somebody off.
I mean, AMC though at least is one of those companies that tries to touch the boundary and tries to surpass the boundaries of standard cable networks. So we'll get to see at least a little bit more than we would have expected if it was like a Fox show or something terrible like that. Unfortunately, it's not a Showtime or HBO or something, so you can't see. So it can't go everywhere. But you know.
I mean, I don't know. Walking Dead's trying to get there though.
And you know who the director of it is Seth Rogen, I believe. Is part of the creation of it. I assume Seth Rogen's a big comic book fan and wanted to do this for a while.
Yeah.
Moving on to some video game movie news. Daisy Ridley is rumored to be considered for Lara Croft. Now, Daisy Ridley being Rey from Star Wars.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I don't really care. Like, to me, honestly, I didn't really care about the Tomb Raider movies. I could care less. That's just me. I don't know. Like, is it really going to upset me? No.
I mean, I don't care for her, and when I watched Star Wars, some of the stuff that she did was just cringy to me. But then I thought Lara Croft has not ever been a super fleshed out character anyway, so I could totally see her running around doing the stupid shit that I did in all of the last Tomb Raider game.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. Give her a little stab
like,
just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I can't imagine that going too wrong. It's not like I just don't picture that Tomb Raider being a standout movie to begin with. For her to be like, ridiculed for maybe not selling it so much, because I just don't feel like it's a movie
all the
that needs to be made.
crossovers though. Think of somebody having like Rey's staff and doing all those shitty upgrades, like duct taping a lightsaber to it or some shit.
I just want to point out that it's
fun.
like,
It's a movie though.
compared to everyone else that I imagined that I could have had on this podcast, I have the two people that don't go with all the genualities, where like everyone's like, oh yeah, Star Wars was amazing and everything. And you're like, Star Wars is cringy in some ways.
Yeah.
And then,
I liked it.
you
I
have
liked
been,
the movie.
and then most people will be like, oh, Daisy Ridley's amazing and she should be in like everything. And you're like, yeah, I don't know.
I don't think I don't think she was like particularly amazing. I think she played the part, and I didn't like get upset with anything that anyone did on the movie. I just don't. I didn't get mad at anything except for. I wish Kylo Ren was cooler, but maybe he will be in the next movie. Who knows? I'm gonna see the next movie.
They need to get Kylo Ren in the next movie.
But he's not
I'd be
supposed
so
to be
pumped.
cool. He's supposed to be
he's
the
not supposed to be
anti-Vader.
cool. Maybe he did a good job being exactly what they asked him to be. But like, I had no problems really with anyone in the movie.
I mean, he's supposed to be like the anti-Luke, so it's like if you imagine Luke being kind of this clumsy person that he was in that episode 4, it totally matches up with that.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see what else. Oh, The Walking Dead. Apparently, everyone's talking about how super dark the season finale will be, including Carol and everything. Sasha, you want to elaborate on some of this?
Yeah, it's been a thing for a long time, and they've been. I think that's just part of how they've been drumming it up. They've been slowly, releasing how each actor feels about the finale. First, it was Andrew Lincoln, and then it was Lauren Cohen. They both had very strong reactions. They've already talked with Kirkman. He's super excited for everybody to see Negan, and that's going to be an intense moment. That I don't even like reaction videos, but I almost would love to see my face as soon as he comes up there, because I'm going to freak out. Like, I'm excited about it. And it doesn't matter if they keep the death or they don't. Which I feel like somebody's going to have to die. It has to happen. Like, in the
The
comics,
Walking Dead, everyone survives, everything's fine.
shut up. No, in the comics, no, it's a big death. It's a moment where Rick decides that you can't fuck with Negan. Like, there's nothing he can do. And it's when Glenn is killed, and so people...
Spoilers.
the comic has been out for a hot damn minute. Everybody get off.
Spoilers.
So.
I didn't know the comic book had been released. Thanks for ruining it for me.
Shut up. So anyway, it was Glenn, and everybody's really hoping, myself included, that it's not going to be Glenn in the show. And it's not the first time that they've given major deaths to someone else. Like, they gave Herschel Tyrese's death, and then, in my opinion, gave Tyrese a really shitty death, and that kind of made me mad. But maybe they will give Glenn's death to someone else. The problem is it has to be someone super important. Like, it's literally someone so close that Rick has to. It can't be like an Alexandria.
So
he doesn't care.
Out of these people, which I assume would technically be the core people, which would be Rick, Daryl, Michonne, Carol, Glenn, Maggie, Morgan.
Gabriel.
Would Morgan technically?
I
don't think
really
Morgan.
care about Gabriel.
I'm thinking people that they've been in there at least 2 seasons or something like that. So I'd say those guys.
Well, but he actually would care about Morgan though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is it has to be a death that Rick, that will like devastate Rick. That's because that's literally what it does in the story. It's like
Carl,
a catalyst. It can't be Carl, man. They just shot Carl. Like they gotta. No, Carl's about to get badass. If they kill Carl, I'm done. I'm fucking out. And I don't think Kirkman would do it. I don't think Kirkman would kill Carl because he has so much that's about to happen.
Turn out Bill Murray dies. That would devastate just about anyone.
Well, also the current arc that's still going on in the comics, Carl is like the main figurehead in it. He's right in the middle of all of it. So they would have to find some other teenager it just wouldn't work out. It wouldn't work out. They need Carl. So I'm not sure who it's gonna be.
Coral.
Maybe it's the baby. I mean, it would be something crazy, you know.
Could be. That would be intense, and that could explain why everybody was so sickened. Because
you heard it here first, folks.
Yes, there's the baby all along. I mean, she's been dead.
Too. Half-Life 3's coming out.
Baby's been dead in the comics since the prison. So, she got shot. Like.
I mean, just imagine that scene where like Negan throws the baby down, and you just see like the bat come down constantly, and you just see blood.
People would lose their damn minds. Somebody already was upset when the season came back, and they were like, "There was just a really unnecessary death." And I feel like Walking Dead just did it because they were like, "Here, we can." Like, I feel like you didn't read the freaking comics because all but maybe one of those deaths were in the book. We all knew it was coming. We were waiting on it. So, I don't know.
If they kill everybody and they completely replace the cast with new people.
Shut up.
Some people kind of wanted that to be like there to be an entirely different cast, which is why people are so happy about the spin-off, the Fear the Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I actually like the cast in that one too. They're pretty cool. They haven't been out in the wild for so long like the other cast has.
And I think we've talked before about who's going to be the new Rick. As far as that group goes,
who would it be? I must have forgotten.
We talked about it. If it would be the mom, who's was she a principal or is she just a teacher?
She was a teacher.
And then the
she actually
dad,
fought the
who
principal
is
at some
a teacher
point.
as well.
Yeah, it would. I think the dad as a teacher might be an interesting one because he was really evasive to guns in that first season where he's like, I'm not
like he has the most to learn. It's like when you look at horror movies, the person who lives is always the one that had the most to learn, like and gain from it. So
exactly.
I mean, it'd probably be him, but it's gonna be something else, and I'm excited about it.
Yep. Hey, have you guys seen the Reacts trailer for the Ghostbusters? No. Like, there's a Stay Puft Marshmallow who's like watching the React video of the new Ghostbusters trailer. At the end point, he blows his head out and marshmallow. No. So also Slimer's in it too.
People put like his head on s'mores and eat them.
People all of a sudden, all these children scurry up with like Hershey's and graham crackers.
So dark. So Men in Black / 21 Jump Street crossover is still a thing. There's been news things reporting about this actually happening. And I wanted to, read off some interesting crossovers that I think would be better than this, because I think a lot of people were saying that, this is kind of a stupid crossover. So tell me...
Not related at all.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they're both comedies, and that's my opinion.
Like... I mean, if we're doing that, though, you just mash it up with fucking Clerks or something. That's too broad of of a genre because outside comedy they have nothing in common. There's
They're
no
both
sci-fi,
They're
and
both
there's
owned by
no-
Sony. That's
You're
the.
gonna
That's
come
so
up to
bad.
me like, and after the movie comes out, like, dude, you gotta see this.
No,
This is gonna be your favorite movie.
I don't think
Quote
so.
me on that.
I don't even think so.
So here's some Newsarama lists of good crossovers that people think would happen, but it would be great. So what about Bond versus Bourne, or not necessarily versus? Maybe work together.
Well, I was thinking like that.
It was like
And I was,
epic
starting
rap
to,
battles.
I was starting to think of that, like Taken and Bourne, also like Liam Neeson's character in Taken.
That would be
But
cool.
that too. Except like
I think it would give
What
him.
if Liam Neeson was trying to find Jason Bourne?
Yeah,
Yes!
Jason Bourne took his favorite like dog and
Hollywood, I need that check.
yeah. Well, like the difference is Jason Bourne hadn't made a mistake in any of the movies.
So
Everyone else gets caught.
Die Hard, Lethal Weapon.
That's something that's a kind of an old reference to go back to, honestly. Like, but it could probably be cool because they do have a very similar feel. That one would actually be like if it was made when the movies were coming out.
Yeah.
Would have been
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't think it would work these days.
I think a lot of people don't know Lethal Weapon anymore. It's really
He
sad
still hasn't watched all of
because
them, but he's watched
Die
one
Hard
of them now,
has been-
finally.
because Die Hard has it's kind of almost a cult film in its own right. Like so many people, it's become a classic thing. Whereas the Lethal Weapon movies, it's like if you didn't see them when you were younger, chances are you don't.
People just
really
know
know
that Mel
what
Gibson's
they
crazy
are.
nowadays.
Yeah, like everybody just, everybody knows what about Mel Gibson now, whereas he used to make some pretty good movies. I mean,
This next one, you got Star Trek and Alien. I don't know about that one being because there are two different complete overall feels.
if Kirk fucks
Like-
the alien,
Now I feel like this is almost a comic book crossover because back in the day when Wizard magazine used to come out, which had all the comic books in it, they would have some wacky ass crossovers. I'll tell you two of them, which include these. There's Alien versus Superman and Batman versus Superman. I mean Batman versus Alien, not Batman versus Superman.
Batman versus Alien would be more viable. I like that.
Batman versus Alien.
Yeah. Not Superman versus an alien. That's just goofy.
did you see that random? There's a painting, or somebody online did it, but it's Harry Potter. It was like he's like a Spellium, and freaking the Punisher has a gun, and he's like bullshit. It's like they're both in the middle of saying it, pointing their weapons at each other. I was
Nice.
excited about that picture, even though I know a movie would not ever work out between those two. That picture is still really fun for me.
There was also a crossover between Dread and Aliens, where like an alien ship crash lands and there's eggs all over the place, and
I mean, it's not
In
I could
Mega
kinda
City.
see that.
That's not even bad. Like I don't know. Like that would be cool to
I
see.
could kind of see that one.
so I mean,
Because the theme, the way the atmosphere of those movies like kind of match. They're, like gritty, violent. Everything's crappy. But Star Trek is not one of those. It doesn't feel like the first Alien, like where everyone's afraid, people are dying. That kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
if you think about the movies, yeah, but like thinking about these recent ones, but you think about the movies, what's called First Contact, where they have the Borg and they
I know what you're talking about. Like,
That
I actually
looks-
was thinking about those
that
movies.
feels almost like Aliens with that dark kind of
Oh,
look
yeah.
to it.
Almost.
They just find ways to avoid looking super gruesome in it.
Yeah. I just quite doesn't fit for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem right.
I mean, I don't know if we have too much to say about Lone Ranger.
Yeah, I don't know much
Indiana
about
Jones.
Lone Ranger.
I don't know about
Or
Lone Ranger.
Lone Ranger Zorro, yeah.
But Zorro, I was a big fan of Black and White Zorro. Like I used to
Zorro and
watch
V for
that.
Vendetta.
I liked those like the new movies for Zorro. That was pretty cool.
They were pretty good. I would stay
I
at
still
home
haven't
and
seen
just
Lone
watch
Ranger.
it's no, you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
But Zorro, like the old Black and White Zorro was my jam. I would just sit and watch that all the time. So I don't know about how that would go. I feel like Lone Ranger is a little more, well, especially the new one is super campy, like super campy. Not so much Zorro, whereas his is a little more I don't know, sincere, I guess would be the word.
Blade and Buffy team up
See,
together.
that's another one that just doesn't
No.
fit, like feel wise.
Yeah.
Blade's badass and Buffy's just cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, Buffy's more of a more like a high school drama movie than or
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah,
That's about accurate.
Indiana Jones, Sherlock Holmes.
See, those don't fit. Why would they even need to? Like, Holmes is a different, 100% different thing. Like, he's a detective. Indiana Jones is an explorer. It doesn't feel the same.
I agree on that one. That one doesn't seem right. Batman,
I do like that
Iron
one.
Man.
Batman, Iron Man's kind of cool.
I think that would be fun.
They're very similar, and it's like, you know,
geniuses, billionaires.
those are the two. Like, I would say if we're talking who are the most favorite comic book heroes right now in everything, it would be Batman and Iron Man. Those are the two people.
Too bad
There's
they're
a comic-
DC and Marvel.
There's a comic for that too. It's like Bruce, Tony, and they start throwing money at each other, and then Spider-Man shows up and starts scooping it all up.
That was awesome.
Good stuff.
And then I think this one would probably be like, probably aside from the Batman Iron Man one of the better ones would be Ghostbusters Men in Black.
It's still not the right feel.
It's not the same
though.
thing. Aliens have been ghosts.
Okay, so yes, that is true, but like I'm thinking like if I saw I feel like I would see this in the comic books in the way, because like it's two wacky things that you think there's no way they would like ever go together, and then like just having them try to explain it would be cheesy but awesome.
Yeah, well, you know what would go better with Men in Black would be 21 Jump Street. I don't think you mentioned that on the list.
But
good lord.
what I think would also be good would be Ghostbusters crossover with Bridesmaids. Right? Oh, that already happened?
Dude, I'm so upset. Like, there's, at this point, we don't even know if he's trolling or not, but there's this guy that's like, oh, look at all of these guys that are trying to defend how they don't like Ghostbusters and it's not being sexist. And I'm like, okay, listen here. I cannot like that movie and not be sexist.
I don't have to defend liking anything. I don't like it. There you go.
Exactly.
I don't have to qualify it to anyone because it's none of their business.
It's not my humor. Like, I didn't watch Bridesmaids. I didn't have any drive to watch it. When I watched this trailer, I was just like, this is cringeworthy almost to me. It's too stupid. And I get that old Ghostbusters was cheesy and stuff, and that we love that, and that was fun. But, like, this is just straight up corny.
It's like asking women to enjoy watching Rocky movies with me.
So, like, if I would say to switch over, like, the Ghostbusters franchise with another comedy franchise with people, I would say they have the movies that Jason Segel is always in with him, or I forget what they're called. Stole
Sarah
some time.
Marshall?
Shit.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Yeah, shit.
The Sarah Marshall movies?
Forgetting Sarah Marshall and all those movies.
I Love You, Man. Isn't that the same? No, that's not the same.
I think, yes, it
universe.
is.
Is it?
He was also in it, and it was also written by the same guy.
And then Aldous Snow
It's a
runs
Judd
around in all
You
of
just
them.
did the same universe.
Judd Apatow is the guy who writes all these Jason Segel movies that
They
they're in.
just said all of Quentin Tarantino's movies are in the same universe.
Yeah, they did say
Literally
that.
all of them take place.
It's like I could kind of imagine like Jason Segel and Paul Rudd and I don't know who the other people would
They
be,
would
but
be good Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
that would
I
be
feel
kind of
like.
funny.
They would be fun.
like yeah. So if I was casting them, I'd probably pick them and maybe another person
Who else?
if
Jason
Judd Apatow
Sudeikis.
was doing them.
I would love to see Jason Sudeikis as a Ghostbuster.
I mean, it's kind of funny because Bridesmaids is kind of labeled as a Judd Apatow movie, but he was like a producer of it, so that's kind of like a spin-off of his movies. So I'd say like maybe bring it up a ladder and have a Judd Apatow movie as that. Though then again, I don't know what on earth what his movie would be like as a Ghostbusters movie, but you know who knows.
Who knows?
How about not remake it?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Just scrap it.
Someone put up like a Extreme Ghostbusters thing. Did you guys ever watch that as cartoons?
I watched it. It's been a long time.
Like the Extreme Ghostbusters was like the sequel to the original Ghostbusters cartoon.
Oh, wait, is this new stuff?
No, this was back in like the 90s.
Okay, yeah.
And they hired 4 new Ghostbusters, and there was a girl Ghostbuster who was kind of goth girl. There was a guy. There was a black guy who was paraplegic. There was I think this guy's name was Eduardo, and like he was pretty cool.
Let's make sure everybody knows we're not racist.
Hold on, no, I feel like old shows and stuff were way better about being diverse without making a big fucking deal about it. Like nowadays, it's become newsworthy. Like, oh, we're doing all this crazy stuff. Whereas Jim and the Holograms literally had a chick from like every ethnicity in the band.
Yeah.
for like the major
Well, I mean, I don't know
ethnicities.
that, but yeah,
So
it's great.
it's like, but nobody, and Captain Planet and stuff is all these different
Yeah.
races and,
You know,
and
that
types of
one
people.
matches the complete theme of the show too. Like that,
Yeah,
I actually kind of
but
like the way
nobody-
Captain Planet did it.
Nobody made a big deal about it
Yeah.
then, and that's one of my biggest problems with Ghostbusters now. It's like if you want women doing things that men do to be normal, then just do it. Don't make it an announcement. Don't make it a thing.
Yeah.
Just do it, and let it be at that.
Nike.
As a guy who's not totally white, but is pretty much white.
Hey, neither am I. Fair.
I feel like it gets really awkward when it's like when you're just making it awkwardly diverse and trying to make a big thing of
Yeah.
it. Like the new Avengers in the comic books are all diverse. Like every one of them is not like
Well, here's one thing you got to keep in mind. Like, let's say one person is writing it and is not of that ethnic group. Now, how is he gonna like write something of a different ethnic
I was
background?
literally about to say,
Yeah.
I'd feel kind of like,
I'm like, it's almost sometimes it's
offended.
almost insulting. Like, hey, we're gonna try to make this person what I think is black people.
Yeah.
And it just seems
Right.
inherently bad.
and or the fact that you have to cover it, like let's put a black person in, let's put a
Yeah.
woman in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, now I feel like you're just patronizing me, like you're just being a dick at this point.
So I got in this argument with people all over like the internet about comic books, which is the typical thing about this stuff. I was arguing about like how like people were arguing about how people were getting pissed about like Asian people were getting pissed at them not casting an Iron Fist that was Asian, and everyone was like, like he's white, he should be white, and all that stuff. And I'm like the thing about this is kind of this is kind of the opposite thing on it. Is what I'm saying is like I was trying to tell them, I'm like, look, just because he is another ethnicity does not mean that he is any different in the background than the character that played Iron Fist. Like
Yeah.
Right.
White
Like, it's not like there was some event that majorly impacted his life that made him have to be
right.
in that one ethnicity for
Yeah,
forever.
that's what I'm saying is that like I mean, in one side, yes, that there are some things that sometimes different ethnicities go through that could be added to their character or could make the person who's writing it not necessarily portray them right. But at the same time, there are Asian people and black people and women that act the same way that,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
the
No,
normal white dude would act.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's a little bit easier to write. Well, so like let's say a woman or a guy tries to write a woman. That's not something that's going to be in that writer's comfort zone for one, because they're not a woman. So even and then they're going to get like barked at from all different directions for not writing women right and all this kind of stuff. If I was as a majorly white guy, if I wrote a story, I would be comfortable writing dudes, and I wouldn't dare to try to write a girl just because I would just end up writing them just like all the dudes.
Yeah, and that's kind of what people like, writers of like comic books have said in the past. It's like, look, I'm just writing what I know.
Yeah.
And there was,
Don't excuse yourself, man. Just write what you want.
I think it was
Yeah.
Joss Whedon at one point when people like commented on like, saying, wow, you do a great job on writing women. And his reply to that was, I just wrote them as regular people. I didn't really base it off on their race. So, I mean, there are some people who are going to poke at that and be like, you're not portraying women properly or not portraying, Asian people properly. But at the same time, it's like, we're all just people.
Oh,
so
yeah. I would write it if I wanted it in there. Like if I wanted a woman character and I was a writer, because this is my story, damn it, and I'm going to write it the way I want.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. Is like when the cover controversy happened with the Joker and Batgirl, and everybody went apeshit about it. I was like, look here, dude, this is literally like feminism is all equality, and the whole point of this cover, literally, you could replace Batgirl with any other male superhero, and it would still fit he would still have his arm around the person. There's a gun, he's got he had a knife to her throat or something. I don't know, but it's like they're like it's dehumanized or whatever. I don't even know all the shit because it's so freaking stupid.
You're supposed to
but
think
I
he's
was
bad.
like, yeah, I was like, first off, her being a woman doesn't make her any more special than any of the other superheroes. Batman, Superman, all of them, they get kidnapped. They fuck up and sometimes end up in bad situations. Like in Injustice, Flash is strapped to a freaking table and Harley Quinn is just talking. She's just chatting with him the whole time. And it's like, it's nothing against him. It happens. It's just a logical thing that happens. And everybody started getting all pissy. I'm like, literally, this is what you've been fighting for. You've been fighting for equality. Now there's a woman who has her own comic line and her own, and she's on the cover, but she's not in the situation you want her in. So all of a sudden, the artist who's been doing this for years, with everyone loving it, has to change everything up because you said you don't like it. Ah, it pissed me off
So
so much.
Transformers and G.I. Joe looks like a good mashup.
Oh, we were still doing this?
We just gotta get up on those.
So I like that.
So-
Transformers, G.I. Joe, I think it'd work. It's great.
There's like a ton of crossovers with Transformers and G.I. Joe. That's pretty much like they've kind of written that before. So
Okay.
that's an actual crossover that's happened. Anyway, breaking news: Indiana Jones 5 is in the making, and Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg are going to be
Hey,
on
I
it.
couldn't be more excited.
Moving on, gaming news. There's Fallout 4 Automatron trailer. It's the
Automatron?
It's the DLC for the scenario where in Fallout 4 you can create your own robots, and then there's some guy creating robots, and you have your robots fight each other like Pokemon or something.
Like Japan versus US, that's happening
Like-
at some point.
Battle.
We have giant robots that are gonna fight.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's a thing. It's already happening. We're working on it. But also, there's other gaming news. League of Legends had a record broken.
Really?
The creep record.
Most neck beards.
It was the creep record was broken. Now it's like 764 minions, I think, in a 61-minute game or some shit like that. It was a pro game. And what's bad is like, I didn't watch the entire match. Star Fox versus someone.
Star
And,
Fox?
Star Fox, yeah. I think that's it. Or Fox. Something Fox, because Rick Fox is the person who created the damn team. I thought it was Star Fox. Maybe it's something else. But I know it's Fox something because Rick Fox did the
Fox
thing.
Mulder.
Fox
Anyway.
Five.
Shut up. Point is, I probably did, but I recall shit wrong all the time. Every time
It's
I
all
Google, I get back and Google. I'm like, I'm sorry, everybody. Here's the actual thing.
At least you try to correct yourself,
I try.
and admit that you don't know everything on it. Like I've listened to podcasts where people are like, I think it's this way, and I'm like, I'm 99% positive that you're wrong on that.
Yeah.
It's they
I'll be
just
like, I'm sure I'm probably screwing that up. But the point, like the game itself, the team has had some problems, and they're a first year North American team. And the game itself, I've heard is pretty boring, but I did tune in for the last little bit, and it is holy shit insane. Like I'll link to it and everything, but it just the amount of trade that they do right on top of the inhibitors and everything is intense. It's really fun, so I have to link that up. But yeah, creep record, hooray! That happened.
It's time for a new segment called Fake Fan Mail.
That was
Every
what
week.
FFM means. Just like the FFM threesome. Anyway.
Every week, fake fans write to this fake but true podcast about fake things, and we're gonna read one of those emails.
Until we get actual.
Dear SMU, I love your podcast, and Wyatt is the sexiest man alive. But don't tell anyone. I am a big fan of time travel movies and video games. What is your favorite time travel movie? Thanks, Marty McFly. Now, guys, what is your favorite
It has
time
an
travel?
attached picture of like a nude, and it's just Wyatt sending a picture to himself.
Dude, how did you see
Oh,
that? I have the
Time travel.
laptop over here to where you can't see.
Time travel movie.
I can't.
Ooh,
Like
I
off the
know,
top of my
now
head,
it's-
I actually can't think of a whole lot of time travel movies.
I
Maybe
know, like
Back,
Bill and Ted's is not.
Back to the Future rings a bell. I think that might be a time travel movie.
I mean,
I know there's something that I really
I don't
do
know
love,
what made
and
me
I
think
can't.
of Back to the Future though.
I like other than Back to the Future, which is kind of my top favorite. I would say Looper is really cool. I liked that one a lot.
I didn't actually watch that.
And I mean, that one's really crazy and a lot of stuff on it.
Ooh, I do like the. I think it's called Timeline. It has. It had Paul Walker in them. They're using this. I don't even know what it is, but they're using. But they go back into like feudal England sort of times.
Feudal
So they get
England.
stuck. They get stuck in there in like this little shitty town.
Never heard of
that's,
where
like,
feudal
run
England
by
takes
this
place.
dude. What? Shut up, both of you. Off my nuts. The point is the movie.
Told
is
you
pretty
she has
fun.
them.
I don't think that counts as a penis reference.
Anyway.
The penis count did not raise up, except for the
You
times I
just said it twice. You dick.
At this point, we should just get some little fun themed clock, just ting, like a little counter or something.
So feudal England.
I called them
Shut
dick
up.
references, not
It's
penis
no
references.
timeline. It's a fun one.
Dick
It's a
reference.
fun.
Okay.
It's a good time.
Since I can't think of any others, I'm just gonna go with Back to the Future. Obviously, they weren't good enough to make me remember them. So
You didn't like Bill and Ted's? I thought Bill and Ted's was fun.
I did like it, but I haven't seen it since I first watched it.
Oh,
The
it's not
only
that
thing I liked is there was George Carlin was in it. That was one of my favorite things.
You're bad.
I feel like there's way more time travel movies that I just can't name, but
Well,
Most
no.
of them
Think
do
about
one
it.
thing to piss me off.
This
though.
person should have sent like a little list. Like,
For real?
What about these?
Man.
Does Galaxy Quest count? Because he does go back in time for a few minutes.
that
That's
is true.
we can go with that.
There we go.
I'm down.
So anyway, we're moving on to the topic of the week, which is Daredevil Season 2,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it's going to include Daredevil versus Punisher.
Super pumped.
So, we're going to talk about it. What do we think of Season 1, to start off?
We'll see.
I mean, that's you
I
guys.
liked it. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it was like, you and me, we burned through that like in a few days. It was...
Yeah, I really like, to me, like the choreography really, really stood out. And the fact that he gets his ass kicked a lot and he's just like, I don't know, he's just ridiculously going in head on into every challenge and almost gets his ass handed to him so much but never stops. I think his character alone was really what made it for me. The side characters, I'm not 100% sure I could care less about him.
Girl's really annoying.
You
Karen,
think so?
she's so.
Oh.
Like I said,
She
I've
didn't
only
know him as
watched
much as Foggy
passively.
did, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, he wasn't great either. But I only watched passively, so I do know. Like I know Fisk, I know Foggy, I know Karen. I don't know whatever that is, but
He's
I would
in a
look
later
over-
episode.
And I
Stick is
just-
his dude who taught him how to do everything.
Oh, okay. Well, I would like look over and see random bits, and for whatever reason, it just never was exciting to me. Like, I see Gotham, I see all these things that are coming up for Gotham, and like the new casting, and even certain commercials and stuff. I'm like, dude, I wish it was as badass as that, but it's just not to me. Like, I'll go to watch it, and all of a sudden, it's super boring,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
disappointing.
I like that. Like if you didn't get to watch a lot of the fight scenes now, and now they didn't do like that. They didn't just try to put a whole bunch of big name people in there
Yeah.
at all. But this season has the Punisher and it has Elektra.
Who looks awesome. The
Yeah, and they
Definitely.
look cool. They have some references to other characters, and in the Marvel universe, but they're not big. Like the
Right.
guy who creates his suit is a Marvel character, but they don't really. It's hard to even know who he is.
He's a Daredevil villain, and you
Yeah.
probably wouldn't know.
Yeah, and then
It's the Gladiator.
I guess they're talking about maybe Luke Cage will be in this season of Daredevil.
Yeah, like there's talks about stuff like that. I mean,
And he might get his own show.
They're talking about
Actually-
John Bernthal already getting his own
yeah.
show.
Well, actually, no, they disproved that. They said we're not
Is that
planning a
right? Okay.
Punisher thing right now.
They
But
should though.
But anyway, I mean, a lot of the things I can say about the show, aside from the fact that I was a big Daredevil fan to begin with, there's great interactions between. I mean, you really like the villain of this show, and that's one thing I liked about it. He was like you understood him and just like the way he was, and just like how he was. Like people call him probably one of the better, like the best villain of one of the better ones, I guess. Now with David Tennant's Purple Man. Or Kilgrave is how they call him in the comic or
Yeah,
the show.
Kilgrave was pretty damn awesome as a villain.
It's like these are the best two villains we have, and they're both on this TV show. So like not everyone's gonna see it, not necessarily. But anyway, like he was a really good villain. I liked all the characters. Foggy, you're right, he was kind of annoying, just because to me there's that one scene. There's after he finds out
being a whiny bitch.
after he finds out that Matt's Daredevil, he kind of gets really pissy, and that's kind of the point that.
annoys me.
That
Honestly,
never made sense.
For the fact that they're best friends, it kind of is surprising. I guess the one thing, if you think about it, is the fact is that he's blind. That he says he's blind, but technically he's not. Is the reason? Like, I guess he kind of gets pissed about it.
Pissed at it, but that's not even one of the major things that I guess he thought Daredevil to begin with was. He thought that vigilante was a terrorist.
Yeah.
For the most part, and he wasn't convinced that Daredevil was a good guy yet, and so he's like trying to deal with the fact that he thinks his best friend might be like the terrorist who blew up half the city, he blew up that warehouse or whatever it is and killed a bunch of people.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
He thought he was a bad guy, basically. I can somewhat understand that, but shit, dude, he knows his best friend. He should know him very well.
Yeah.
And I'm
that's
like,
why I
it's
was
like
actually
if I
surprised.
told you something that I never told you, you would get pissed off and whine and like never talk to me again. Exactly. So
I thought honestly that they'd have a better reaction where it's like, you're Daredevil? That's kind of cool.
yeah, exactly.
You know, you can
I
actually
wish for
see
that.
that's awesome.
Like Joe was so excited when with the whole Barry being the Flash thing. Like that should be cool. It should be that cool.
I mean, like
be cool with your best friend.
The thing is that like we're kind of over the superhero, thing from years ago, which is why Civil War kind of feels awkward. Is that like nowadays, like how many people know these superheroes' identities? Like it's like Flash, half the people know his
Everybody
identity.
on the show now.
Everybody in that damn show. And they keep telling people.
Smallville, it was like
Jesus.
3 or 4 seasons before he actually told anyone. It was kind of awkward.
Well, he told Pete in the first season.
Okay.
Pete, and then he ended up leaving the show. And I like the way he told Pete. It was actually really cool. Who else did he tell? He didn't tell too many people until Chloe found out on her own. He told that girl who he was dating that could teleport.
Yeah.
And then she exposed him to Chloe when that was like, season 5, whenever she figured it out, something like that.
And like
4.
and like Amazing Spider-Man, he chose what's her name just immediately, Gwen Stacy, and it's just like it's just that's just how it is nowadays. It's just like there's never really too much drama about them showing identities and stuff like that. And granted, as I'm going to bring up later on, identity is a big thing with Daredevil, but I still just don't think it was necessary with Foggy to be like that. But anyway, I did like that there is some mysticism, this kind of thing that goes on with the Daredevil comics itself. With what you're going to see in probably season 2 is the debut of the Hand, which was hinted at in the last season, and the Hand. Of course,
they even have a trailer that says they're called the Hand.
Yeah, and it's these mystic ninjas. They don't have mystic powers, but they're ninjas who, of course, are resurrected after they've died and are under control of the Hand. And of course, the Hand has things to do with black magic and stuff like that. So that's cool that they're going to get to see that. But in the first season, it's kind of hinted at in this one episode where you do meet Stick, and Stick tries to tell Matt that there is like a higher power that he needs to fight, to get prepared for. And that was kind of like telling you that, hey, crazier shit's going to happen soon. You just gotta wait.
He fought a member of the Hand who almost fucking killed him.
Yeah,
so
that was pretty cool.
So yeah, you can tell that they are a legitimate threat, and I hope that this season Daredevil is a little bit better. Like he's already kind of fighting at almost a superhuman level, but he makes mistakes.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So I'm hoping he's more polished in this season. I'm hoping that happens because he's got even greater challenges ahead.
I want to see them kind of do like what they do in some sequels, mainly like Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they skip and show you that he's taken some time to be this superhero and fought these battles, so he's had experience. He's not like it's not like they took him and just next day he's the same.
Yeah, you saw him with his first experiences throughout the first season.
He didn't just concentrate really hard and get.
Yeah, like you can tell he's already really good, but he fucks up a lot, and eventually he may get to that level where he is like a superhero, kind of thing. I do remember, I like this whole Punisher Daredevil thing, because I did like the Punisher Daredevil things they did in the comics. How, like, the Punisher got his ass handed to him by Daredevil, like, no problem. And he wanted to capture Daredevil. He's like, handing him the fight's easy. Because I never stood a chance. And you see Punisher getting his ass beat. But, yeah, like, I want to see it on the level as that. Because, like, the Punisher, or the Daredevil in the first season... the Punisher in the first season gets beat up by groups of regular people. Now, granted, it's groups of people. It's fair to say that he could get beat up by 8 people. But he shouldn't... At some point, I think the Daredevil shouldn't be beat up by the common man, I guess. Common street thugs. Ninjas, fine. Get your ass kicked by one, but not like a dude.
Yeah, some random guy.
Like Wilson Fisk is not supposed to be... Wilson Fisk has not trained in some mystical art by the Stick, but he beats the shit out of Daredevil a little bit. He does lose eventually, but yeah, it looks like he could win.
The most I saw of the show, I think, was like his courtship with that chick and how he was juggling everything, and then I think he just like eventually kind of told her, or she found out.
She knew.
I don't know.
She's like, no, I'm not stupid.
Yeah, but it was just really odd.
Okay, the nurse, right?
I don't know. Whoever Fisk gets with, someone.
Fisk.
Okay. You're talking about her. Gotcha. Yeah.
His wife.
Did they ever get married?
Well, they will. I mean, you know that
Yeah.
in the comic.
In the comic book, she's his wife. Yeah.
But yeah, like he talks about it like vaguely, and she's like, I kind of knew what kind of a person you were. That's when she brought a gun to a date and
Yeah.
like gives it to him. I like how he is like basically a child. I love it. He did such a
Yeah.
good job, like, and the way they just kind of like build him up. So if you watched the show at the beginning and didn't keep up with it, it was boring. I can give people that for not like his character isn't as cool until you just keep watching him.
Right.
Like all of a sudden you realize that he's a little bit more than like what he lets on. And I don't know if he's going to be very predominant in this next season.
I mean, he's probably the biggest Daredevil villain there is. so I think he would.
is.
I can
should
imagine he would
flesh out
probably be.
more and more throughout the length of the series.
Yeah. I would not like. He's literally behind everything in Daredevil. Like everything pretty much leads to him in
And
pretty much everything.
I like how that Chinese lady basically just touches on like, you know, you're it's better to play the fool, or he was playing the fool on purpose.
Yeah.
So he's acting like a simpleton, like an idiot for the most part, just to keep up that appearance, to look like less of a threat. I like that he's like he kind of like puts himself in the background, but he's really a mastermind. I think they show more. I hope they show more of that.
Ooh, spoiler-tastic, but Walking Dead just did that. This last episode, one of their characters was like, just acted completely helpless, and because of the way she looks, everybody was just like, "Oh, you're just useless." There's like,
That's big.
we don't even know how the hell you live this far. Like, someone must have taken care of you, and she's just a badass. Just like, okay, I'm gonna fuck you up in a second. They're just sitting there calling her bitch and like saying all this stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, from the second that she starts doing this shit, I'm like, you guys are fucked.
2 seasons ago, Rick would not take that shit. Just saying.
Oh no, she had them eating out of their hand. They were like, "Oh, you're so nervous." I'm like, mm-hmm.
So did you guys know that Kingpin is actually in Men in Black? He's the Edgar suit guy, the guy that's
Edgar.
Yeah.
He's
But Edgar suit.
he's something. He's another guy too because
He's
I
in
looked it up
Jurassic
before.
World as well.
No, there's something. There's another thing because I looked it up and I was like, "Whoa."
But yeah, what'd you guys think of the older movies that Daredevil and Punisher have been in? Like Daredevil, I mean, did you guys
I didn't
hate
like
it?
I didn't
Daredevil
see the
movie
Ben
that much.
Affleck one.
I did. I
didn't
actually
see-
liked it. I mean, granted,
I didn't hate it. I just like I was like, oh, this is a movie. I'm done watching it. Now I don't, whatever.
I've yet to
I've
see the
watched it.
director's cut, but I've heard the director's cut actually makes it a better movie. So if anyone ever wants to check that out, it's definitely try that
I
out.
think it would be nice to eventually put in Bullseye. I mean, it's kind of a cool.
I
character.
can't imagine that. Like originally, they were actually going to bring they cast Jason Statham as Bullseye, but that didn't turn out. Like apparently, people.
He's too big for that show because not everyone stands out.
Yeah.
Like as like a triple, as like
Oh,
an
he
A-list
was like-
actor and all that.
Shadow him.
Yeah, he would kind of stick out on basically a series, a TV show.
I mean, John
He's a
Bernthal's
big-
getting big. He was in
Yeah.
Wall Street.
Getting, but he's not like.
I still think people
in movies.
might not necessarily recognize, like straight out, like recognize him. I mean, like he's not a star, he's not the lead star in everything yet. Like Jason
Yeah.
Statham is
Yeah.
everywhere. Like you can
Right.
refer to things as Jason Statham movies. Nothing can be
True.
referred to as John Berthal movies yet.
True.
Yeah.
So
That's like when Michael Rooker came here. People were like, "Who's that?" It's like it's Walking Dead and Guardians. He's not very big, but those are very big franchises.
and that's why he can get away with being everything.
Mm-hmm.
Those characters kind of the same thing in all the
Now,
movies.
like the Punisher movies, I actually kind of liked, even though none of them like really stood out. And like I liked the first one with Dolph Lundgren. Probably, I like the second one. I want to say the most with Tom Jane, just
I
because
love
of my
that
whole
one.
thing.
I just
with
love Tom Jane. Yeah.
Yeah, just because I like Tom Jane so much. But Dolph Lundgren, I really kind of liked a lot of the things that he did in the movie.
No, I've never
I've
seen
never
that movie.
seen that.
It's
one.
good. I think it's good. But he did something that you can't do anymore. He made a reference to Batman, and he's a Marvel character, so you can't do that.
Yeah.
Somebody was torturing him. They're like, "Who sent you?" He's like, "Batman."
I mean, they could.
I mean, comics exist in
Yeah,
the
like
thing.
the thing is that like I mean, the one thing is that people like I guess they have that corporate mentality with comic books where they don't want to mention other characters in other universes just because they don't want to give competition.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, there are other off-brand superheroes that mention these things because
they're
in their
pop
world,
icons,
in their world, it's like it is comics. They're a
Mhm.
pop icon. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want y'all to see the first one.
I'd like to watch it.
I'll watch it,
I actually
'cause
want to
I love the
rewatch.
second one.
I want to rewatch Warzone with. I forget what's his name.
Warzone was Ray Stevenson.
Ray Stevenson.
Warzone
yeah,
was
you're
better
right.
than the other movie that I walked out of, which was Twilight, because I didn't want to watch it. So I was with
Why
somebody.
were you even there?
I
When
was
did you
with
watch that?
At the time, it was my girlfriend. She said she wanted to see it because she read the book. So I'm like, well, when we walk out of this, I want to have another movie to walk into. So I looked up movie times. This is exactly what happened too. I'm like, I'm going to look up whatever movie else is playing that would be better than this, and we'll walk out and go to that one when we walk out. And sure enough, we walked out the first 10 minutes of Twilight and went to watch Punisher Warzone, which was better than Twilight.
Yeah.
So that's what I can say about that movie.
I mean, like it had this kind of Punisher Max feel, like the super violent version of Punisher.
Yeah.
But the one thing
But
is
it's-
just like,
the Punisher's character is not the same.
I guess, yeah. And then it was just like the villain of the story, Jigsaw. He felt weird. He felt like he's trying to be like the Joker in it, like the Dark Knight Joker, and it was kind of like, not really.
Yeah, to have a comic-y character and try to put the Punisher with it, it's hard to do. Like whenever they mix up Spider-Man and Punisher and things like that, it doesn't feel just right. Although it's kind of cool that they do stuff like that. The Punisher Max version
He's
of
less
Punisher
campy
is
than the
so
rest.
cool. He's like the best version of anything ever. And I don't know. I love they went through his background and everything. He's more soldier than he is like comic-y. Like I really love it. And if they can make a good Punisher like that, which honestly in Daredevil still doesn't feel the same. I don't know. I'm not saying this Punisher is going to be bad, but dude, if they can make a Punisher movie that's like just like the Punisher Max series, that's like the happiest moment.
Yeah,
of my life.
that would be really awesome.
Yeah.
I'm still working on my way through them. I've kind of like started where I'll go read something else and then I'll read like a little arc of it and then I'll go read something else.
Read
So
the
I
one
can
where
just
the guy
give myself some time.
Read the one where the guy where he goes and gets arrested on purpose.
Hey,
That one's one of my favorite ones. And then where the guy digs out his grave, his family's grave, and pisses on them.
Jesus.
The
I
look
know.
on
I
his
just got
face
past
is,
like the
like, so
creation
perfect.
of him where he's like
Born.
in the
In Vietnam.
Born and the one that they retroactively released that came before it.
Tiger.
Tiger.
Yeah.
I read that one, and so there's those, and I've got to go back. But good stuff. Good stuff.
There's a few issues before Up Is Down, Black Is White, and that's the one where they go to his grave, his family's grave, desecrated.
Yeah, he takes the guy out into the
fucked
woods.
up.
He's so fucking terrified.
Yeah.
He just the way he does it, it's just kind of cool. Like you expect him to torture him for days on end. He just shoots him once in the stomach. He's like, all you did was shoot me. He's like, yes, low in the stomach. He's like, you're gonna drown in your own blood and be poisoned by it. And it's like, you made this personal, so it buys you more pain than most. And he's like, out here, no one will hear you scream, and then he just leaves.
I hear you.
Then the one where he took the guy's intestines and
Yeah, that's
swung
what I
them
was thinking
around
of.
a tree. The guy wakes up and his intestines are like hanging from tree branches
Oh no!
Yeah, I
and
don't.
shit. It's
I
like
don't
this
know.
is how you interrogate somebody.
Oh god!
Even though like these Marvel movies
Oh.
have been out, I don't think they're gonna ever get that violent. Like people talk about how gruesome like Daredevil was, where Kingpin decapitates like one of his henchmen, but it's like you never see the actual like head or anything. You just hear like a crushing sound whenever.
See, I like dark superhero movie. I don't like
Yeah.
the campy stuff because
I like both.
it's. I granted like certain ones I guess is kind of what you're always gonna. It's like Spider-Man. You're never really gonna be able to take Spider-Man out of that camp.
Although you know
can't.
what, I loved Spider-Man 3 where he's acting like a dumbass because
God.
at least he was angry and evil.
But
like
it was
that.
still super. But I
And when
like
they give Superman
'cause-
red kryptonite, that's cool.
understand. But it's just especially because of some of the things that go on. It's like you guys are, especially when they're trying to market it to kids and stuff. It's like, oh, you can dress it up any way you want, but the point is these people are running around killing the shit out of things.
Yeah, now to be fair, like the comic book for Punisher was less graphic and all that. It started out less graphic than the ones that I like. So if they do Punishers that aren't like that, I can't.
Punisher Max didn't.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the Punisher Max came after the original
Oh,
Punisher.
okay, I was like,
So I'm saying
Punisher
like
Max
if
jumped
they,
in like.
No,
let's
if
go.
they do movies and stuff, and the Punisher isn't like that in the movies, I can't fault them for that because they're going with the original comic book Punisher. But
That's kind of like when King Shark showed up. My husband was like, you know, King Shark, isn't he supposed to be a hammerhead? Because every time I've shown him anything from the
what's
new
that have to do with King Shark's Punisher?
Suicide Squad, it was from the
I guess he
in,
was a hammerhead.
in the new 52 he is.
Oh, okay.
In the old ones, he is just Great White looking. And I was like, no, they just went classic with him. I mean, it's still him, still good.
Yeah, I don't know if they. I don't know. I would love to see a Punisher Max Punisher type movie, but if they continue on with this more comic book one, I can't fault them for it. I'm liking the trend of Daredevil. With the Punisher being in Daredevil, he is going to be more true to like the Max version of it, because the Daredevil is already kind of like a gritty, less campy one. It's more dark, and so they're just going to keep going with that theme. I like it.
So get this, like Daredevil and Punisher, John Bernthal and Tom Holland, the Spider-Man, actually were interviewed together. They managed to convince Marvel to get them both together. So just like imagine Spider-Man and Punisher working together, or like in the same thing.
Well, Spider-Man typically tries to stop Punisher from doing anything.
They're like of the street level, like of the superheroes, like you rarely see Daredevil with the Avengers, but you usually see him with Spider-Man and Punisher, because they're all like that same street level thing, and they usually cross over more often than the Avengers do.
Right.
Like
it's like a A level and B levels.
It's a lot about location too. So like. People like Jessica Jones and Daredevil and
to be fair, they all live in New York.
Yeah, they're in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Hell's Kitchen specifically. So that's why they cross over. Now I don't know. Spider-Man lives in Hell's Kitchen, but he's close. He's close. He can swing very far, and get there.
Travels across town in 20 minutes.
So he can get there pretty quickly. And Luke Cage is over there as well. So it's
Wolverine usually shows up with them too. I forgot to mention that. So.
Yeah. I don't know if they're gonna do that.
I don't know how that works.
Not nowadays with like Fox owning the rights to Wolverine.
They used to do that all the time.
But like I have like a shirt
Wolverine
with Wolverine on the side, and then I think Punisher and Daredevil in the middle, and then Spider-Man on the other side.
Yeah, like Wolverine always got pissed off at Spider-Man, couldn't stand him.
That's funny.
So I just wanted to share some of the moments of Daredevil that I really hope one day kind of makes it into the comic, makes it into the TV show. I don't think it's really going to spoil it, because I feel like the Daredevil show is either years away from ever touching any of this stuff, or or they're just going to do their own route and not really find a way. Maybe they'll find some relation to it, like a different villain will do certain things, but we'll see. I first want to start off with the moment that I always remember, which starts the very first volume of Daredevil, of the recent ones. It was written by Kevin Smith, 2001. It's actually one of the first comics that really helped out Marvel after they went bankrupt. It's kind of the one that helped kickstart everything. So you gotta thank Kevin Smith for that. Him and Joe Quesada. But in this comic, Mysterio, who's now ridden with cancer, tries to drive Daredevil insane by making him, because Daredevil is a Catholic, he believes in God and everything like that. Mysterio kind of makes him believe that the devil is out to kill him. The devil is out to torture him, and he brings this baby out. He comes across this baby that is an orphan or whatever, and then Daredevil tries to take care of it, but people keep telling him that it's the Antichrist, and he's that it's going to destroy the world or whatever, and so Punisher is questioning whether it's bad or whatever. But
is he sending these people to say this stuff?
Yeah, he's
because I saw a thing one time where it's if you really want to screw with someone, get a couple friends and everybody choose a different line and just walk by this person and be like, wake up. The next person, this isn't real. You're dreaming. So this person's okay, 3 people in a row that I don't know.
Yeah, there's even this moment where Daredevil thinks he's hallucinating and seeing kind of a heavenly area, and this kind of weird anthropomorphic kind of figure who says he's like an angel or whatever is telling him that he needs to kill that baby or whatever. And later on he realizes that this he can hear a heartbeat in that guy, so he knows it's fake and just punches right through the chest of it because it's robotic, and then realizes there's a man in the suit or whatever. He doesn't kill him obviously, but he Mysterio's doing all this stuff. And it's because he has he wants to find some person he can finally torture in this way. He couldn't do it with Spider-Man, and now he's dying. He thinks he can do it with Daredevil. And at the very end of it, Daredevil has him beat. He goes I learned I'm gonna do one last thing, something I learned from Kraven. And Kraven, of course, was infamous for knowing, like, he ended up, after defeating Spider-Man and realizing he had nothing left with his life, he kills himself. And so Mysterio grabs his rifle and shoots himself in the head because he realizes he's about to die, you know. Or he doesn't realize, I don't think Daryl's going to kill him, but he realizes that he's about to die from cancer and everything. So that was one of the first stories that I really liked. It actually had Black Widow in it, too, which is someone that has actually been a love interest with Daredevil. So moving on, we have another big moment in Daredevil's life in comics. There was a time when he was actually locked up in prison for a while, and he was stuck in prison, and he was trying to survive because obviously inmates were trying to attack him and everything. This is also a time when his identity was outed, and so people kind of thought he was Daredevil, but he denied it. You know, because they're like, how is a blind man going to be Daredevil? You know, but some people are like, maybe you can see or whatever. And that still lives up to this day where people are still unsure. But, you know, he's trying to fight off everyone in prison. He ends up escaping through a prison riot with, believe it or not, the help of the Punisher. The Punisher actually sneaks in, gets himself arrested.
I think that's going to be in there.
I can kind of imagine.
Because when you saw John Bernthal, he was standing in some sort of facility, whether it's a hospital or a prison or something.
I mean, Punisher gets into prison a lot, so.
Yeah, but like he was I want to say that's the part where he was covered in blood. Too.
Yeah,
I
think that was
standing in a.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that may happen.
Yeah,
possibly.
I think that one. This
Maybe
is
that's how they
probably.
meet.
We'll find out Friday. We can watch the entire game.
I know
season.
the entire season.
All of our answers, all of our questions.
But
I'm not doing a podcast Friday. Don't even hint. I'm just joking.
So
Friday morning, hey.
he gets stuck in prison. Gets the Punisher to break him out. Like the Punisher helps break him out. I don't think he even asks them to. It just happens. I think because in some way the Punisher actually does respect him in the ways.
He does.
And
That's the spirit.
I forget what he says. I think he finds a way to tell people that like he was like framed for it or whatever. So Matt Murdock is kind of innocent from it.
I hate to stop you right in the middle of something, but there's that moment in the Punisher Daredevil crossover that I really liked.
Where he's like chained to the building.
Yeah. Well, he like ties up the Daredevil. Basically, like
that's actually we've seen scenes of that in like in the show, so that's probably gonna happen.
He gets his ass kicked by Daredevil, but then he like turns out like Daredevil can hear really well, so he does this thing that like puts so much sound in his ear it just drives him fucking crazy. Then he knocks him out, ties him up, and he's about to snipe and kill somebody. So he gives the Daredevil a gun, and he's like, "You can either let me kill this person, or you can shoot me and have killed someone, but stop me from killing other people." And right before he's about to take the shot, the Daredevil looks so torn, and he doesn't know what to do, and he finally like pulls the trigger and you hear click. And then Punisher's like, "That's the spirit." He's like, "I took out the firing pin." That's the way he said it. That's the spirit.
That's the spirit. Good job.
And like he would have done.
Now you're getting into things.
I like it.
Now, for a while, up until just a minute ago, I thought that was kind of that would be weird because why would Daredevil try to kill Punisher?
Mm-hmm.
But this next part actually makes sense with it. There is one of the biggest moments of Daredevil where he fights Bullseye, and Bullseye's about to fall on the ground now and fall to his death or whatever. And Punisher, just probably maybe an issue or two ago, witnessed Elektra being killed by Bullseye. He just lets him die. He just lets him fall to like 3 or 4 stories up, and it paralyzes him.
To be fair, he does like have no problem throwing that guy off a roof before and probably broke his neck.
Yeah,
but didn't die. So he might have judged or thought in some way that he could survive.
So unlike most superheroes, Daredevil kind of has a cloudy moral thing. He's not like Batman, who's like no killing.
I don't want to say cloudy morals because letting someone die and killing them is a little bit different.
Yeah, you're right.
Although, he probably
said passive aggression versus active.
I mean, and part of the whole thing about Daredevil though is like Daredevil and this whole Punisher thing is where he's Punisher has said you're one bad day away from becoming me.
Yeah.
And obviously Daredevil's trying to prevent him from killing people. So I mean that's weird that looking at that part of the morality of Daredevil now is kind of like
the way they're doing Batman, I do like the direction they kind of went with the new ones. Like, I don't have to save people. Like, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you either. And then we're like, literally, Catwoman goes and kills Bane with the freaking gun on the motorcycle,
and
he's just like, you killed him, whatever. That kind of thing. He didn't even say a damn thing.
Yeah.
So I think I think that is not necessarily the worst morality because like you think, okay, soldiers kill people, they're not bad people.
Yeah, that's the one thing that bothers me about Batman. It's just he's like in the comic books, he's like no killing period, and like he'll go out of his way to stop Joker from dying. You
Yeah.
know, and it's just like, wait, what? So you're gonna stop him from dying, but you'll let him, you only stop him after he murders like hundreds of people.
Yeah, it's like a giant alignment chart. Like in D&D, you have all these. There's 9 different alignments, and you have good, neutral, bad, and then you have lawful, neutral, and chaotic. And so you have the Punisher, who's chaotic neutral, because he doesn't care. He doesn't necessarily care about laws. He doesn't necessarily care about what's right or wrong or whatever, because he has his own agenda. He's trying to do things based on what happens to him, and he reacts. Whereas you have a lot of the superheroes fall into at least the lawful category, if not good, and they try to have some sort of code there, but it's really fun trying to place those around because
But like the Punisher is almost he's actually like driven with better intentions to actually get rid of crime and save innocent people there.
Yeah.
So it's not just anything that happens to him, but he doesn't also like stop himself if he knows what he's doing is purely selfish.
right.
Yeah.
Like he does react to stuff.
That's
that
what I'm
happens
saying.
to
So he's like he's
But-
kind of a middle thing there because he's
him.
not.
Yeah, I almost want to say he's like, he kills people, but he's not necessarily like.
Like chaotic good.
It's like
I
it's-
think that it's weird.
Not neutral,
It's
I
weird
guess.
that like
Maybe.
superheroes kind of treat Punisher like he's kind of like almost evil or whatever, or just like
some people do treat him like he's evil.
But like in truth, like he has this higher moral code about it. That he's obviously not trying to kill. He's only killing horrible people.
Yeah,
So-
when he's
Well,
so
it's like
good
they
at his
all
job,
have
he makes
their-
sure no one innocent dies too.
Yeah, but they all have their whole reason that they do things,
Mhm.
and it
They're
could
just
be a
not
girl
murdering
or it
hundreds
could
of
be
people.
family or it could be whatever it is, but they all have their own reason, and it could be seen as entirely selfish for some of them.
As long as they're not like the worst vigilante ever, which is Aiden Pierce from Watch Dogs.
God damn it!
The whole purpose of him, fighting crime is because his niece dies, which is part of which he caused, and that's
because
why.
he broke the law.
Yeah.
Or
So-
he hacked somebody he shouldn't have. It's his own damn fault.
Yeah, it's his own fault. Moving on, we have another character which I kind of hope is introduced into Daredevil, which is Echo, who's another superhero, sort of superhero, very similar to
He says
Daredevil.
everything over and over. Echo.
Very similar to Daredevil, where she is a disabled character. She actually is deaf.
I knew it was coming. I was like, Echo.
But she has a photographic memory, a really good photographic memory, where she can memorize things. So she studied all these martial arts and studied all just the simple things about people. So I think she immediately could tell that Daredevil was Matt Murdock just based off of a certain facial structure and everything, how similar it looked. So she actually doesn't really
It
have
wouldn't
powers.
be too hard. It's like his whole bottom half for the first part of the series.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like how I never got how people
Yeah.
didn't get the arrow, and like seeing Oliver Queen. Like, really, he
Yeah.
doesn't even shave. Like, he doesn't even try. He doesn't care.
Now, to be fair, most of the time he's just whooping their asses. They don't have enough time to be studying his face.
Yeah, but he's met was it Lance? Like, he met him several times, and and I'm sorry, but this dude dated your daughter.
Yeah.
It's been in your life this whole time. You can't recognize that scruff. Like,
Yeah.
that half of the face is just foreign to you.
See, like when it comes to superheroes, there's always this sort of suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
But they added a portion of realism now with like Batman and Arrow, where it's like now we have to have his voice changer and everything.
Yeah.
And then it's just like the more you want people to believe this is real, the more people question like why things happen, like the face thing.
Well, it's like you can't get somebody in there with like a telltale mole or like something obvious like
Yeah.
my teeth and freckles and all this. People would know who I am.
Yeah.
There's no.
If
It's not. It's not. funny.
if the Nolan verse was any more real, he'd just have an entire face mask or
Pretty
something. You
much,
know?
yeah.
Yeah. But you don't want to go like giving characters like different masks than what's iconic already.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we go to number 5. This is an interesting one, and I kind of don't want to spoil it too much. Like if this ever comes to play, but one of the biggest stories of Daredevil is I think it's like something. Mark Millar is the one who, not Mark Millar, Frank Miller, the guy who wrote Sin City and the guy who wrote all these other ones that people love. Dark Knight Returns. He also had a big run on Daredevil in the comic books, and I think that was actually where he started, and then they elevated him to the Batman ones. But Daredevil had this time where one of his characters had a drug addiction. It was like his love interest, and she becomes addicted to heroin or some such thing, and she needed her fixed, and she already knew Matt was Daredevil, so she uses that to get drugs, as information, and it turns Daredevil's life, on its head, because it's his love interest, and it potentially destroyed his whole career as as Daredevil. So I mean, that's one I've yet to really read it, so I don't really have enough information on it. But that's something that people always bring up about this character. Moving to number 6, the FBI at one point finds out that his secret identity. This is actually a part of what I was talking about when he goes to jail. Is like they're kind of on to him being this vigilante, and of course he denied it, saying of course he can't be it, and all this stuff.
Like seriously?
Because his eyes technically make him blind. Like anyone, like the nurse notices that the way his eyes react to light and all that could only be because he's blind.
Yeah.
So, like that's the doctor examining him would know he's blind.
Isn't it like all red and everybody
it's
sees
red
like
and splashy and all that.
They pretty much describe it as sonar vision, like he sees through sonar.
I was thinking like something.
But
like
he
that.
can't see like text messages.
Yeah, I thought it was all just
Could he
like
see
general
text?
shapes.
Oh, okay. I was about to say he can't see that.
Yeah, it's just general shapes.
Yeah.
But
no standout of anything.
But the doctor examining him would know he's blind, so they can't like say, "Oh, you're not blind. You're just faking it." So that's what gives the doubt.
Yeah.
It's like they have all these moments where Daredevil is super awesome, where he can like hear footsteps from like maybe 50 feet away or something like that, or like hear like the dripping of water, so he knows where a pipe is or something like that.
Yeah.
But then you
get somebody's listening outside the door, so he hears their heart.
Yeah, but he gets to like. I think people point out moments where he isn't as great of a superhero as other people, where it was like he's disabling a bomb and they're like, cut the red one, and he's just like, fuck.
I just like that.
Shit.
They did put the thing though, like whenever he took that cell phone off off the crooked cop, he had to get someone else to read what was on the cell phone. Like, what if you didn't have someone who knew who you were? That would be kind of weird.
Be really shitty.
Like shit now.
Now I gotta tell somebody because I can't do this by myself.
Daredevil's a less cool character, a less cool superhero in the modern era when every superhero has to hack computers and just be like, let me get into this guy's email address and I'll figure out who he is.
Yeah.
I can't read it. They actually got around this weird way where he can read books based off of touching the ink and feeling where the ink is on the thing, because he's got super heightened senses of touch as well.
Yeah.
So.
And that almost would make sense depending on the type of paper and ink.
The print, yeah. You feel it.
So we get to number 7, and this is probably my favorite and most notable thing that happens in the status quo of Daredevil, where Daredevil beats Kingpin. Kingpin has used supervillains to harass Daredevil for a lot in this moment in time, and he gets tired of it and goes straight to Kingpin and beats the crap out of him and establishes that he is now the Kingpin of New York City, and basically takes over Kingpin's whole organization and everything. And inevitably, and I didn't put this on here, because Kingpin has ties to the Hand, he takes over the Hand as well and becomes the Hand, and becomes the new leader of the Hand, controlling these ninjas.
He's the index finger.
Now get this, I don't know if you guys know this, but
I'm the wrist.
Ninja Turtles is actually a parody of a lot of Daredevil stuff. The foot, the hand, they're both ninjas. Daredevil is trained by Stick. The Ninja Turtles are trained by Splinter. Yeah. So you get the kind of parodies of it.
That's so cool.
Yeah. That's where they got it from. You never knew.
Who would win? 1,000 Marines or a Stick?
Yeah.
Just break the stick
Discuss.
in half.
But then you have 2 sticks.
See, Stick always wins.
So anyway, we get to the last part of our podcast, and it is the trivia, which we haven't done the last couple weeks. And of course, because this has been themed around Daredevil and Punisher this entire time, we're doing Daredevil and Punisher trivia.
I'm fucked.
Which, to be honest,
to lose. I'll try.
I don't think either of you guys know too much about this.
Oh man.
So,
Okay.
We've got 6 questions, and let's start off.
Too
6
many.
now.
Now, Punisher originally debuted as a villain for which of these characters? Is it A, Daredevil, B, Captain America, C, X-Men, or D, Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
I was gonna say Spider-Man, but
Spooderman.
So you both choose Spider-Man, huh?
no, I'm gonna go with
Yeah,
A.
pick
I'm gonna go with
Daredevil.
A, just because.
Daredevil.
Just because.
Oh, if you'd only stayed with your original
Ah!
one, you'd actually been right, because Spider-Man was originally the character that fought against Punisher.
And by the way, we're on video. We don't even have the belt. Like the belt's not even.
I know. I don't
Well,
want to grab it.
it's assumed that it's mine.
What?
Anyway.
Okay.
To be fair, at this rate, we're
Shut up.
you probably
Be quiet. The both of you.
okay.
I'm
So
trying as hard as I can to lose.
One of these days, I get to bring in the trivia. You guys can figure it out.
okay,
All
so
on Blizzard.
Well, I would win. He doesn't know much about Blizzard.
several characters portrayed the Punisher over the years. Which of these has not portrayed him? Is it A, Thomas Jane, B, Carl Urban, C, Norman Reedus, or D, Dolph Lundgren?
Norman Reedus.
I'm gonna get Norman Reedus.
And you actually are both wrong.
Ah,
What?
Norman Reedus voice acted
Oh,
Punisher
voice acting.
in one of these recent animes. I think it's Avengers. I actually put on your. I'm sorry, I skipped it. Actor or voice actor?
Uh-huh.
I
Would
would
you-
think
See?
so.
Would that have helped you
See,
guys?
yes.
Portrayed
Would that have really helped you though?
Yeah.
Would you really thought that?
I honestly would have believed that he did voice more than I would have. Because I know I haven't seen him do anything.
I'll have to remember that next time. I apologize.
Yes.
So in Daredevil, Daredevil stops a heroin dealer. This is Daredevil, the Netflix show, has stopped a heroin dealer with a dragon logo. This is called back to an Iron Fist supervillain. Which one of these villains is it? Fing Fang Foom, A, B, the Mandarin, C, the Steel Serpent, or D, the Serpenter? Now, I have to admit, none of you guys really know these things, so that's,
Yeah.
I'm intentionally
the only
picking
thing
things.
I've ever heard of was
About-
the Mandarin because he was in that
I'm
freaking
just-
movie.
I'm
I was
just picking
about
stuff to
picture.
guess.
I'm about to pick the Mandarin
Yeah, because that's the only one I know of.
because I like their oranges.
So you pick the Mandarin?
Yes.
Then you are wrong. It is actually C, the Steel Serpent. So no one gets that one.
Steel.
Well, Dennis is ahead by 1 point. You've gone through 2 questions. Let's go to number 4. Now,
That
Charlie.
was 3 questions.
Oh, sorry, 3 questions. Thank you for correcting me. You get another point. I'm just kidding. Just 1 point. Charlie Cox, who plays Matt Murdock, also plays in which one of these movies? Is it A, Jupiter Ascending, B, Stardust, C, Cloud Atlas, or D, Speed Racer?
Stardust.
Stardust, yeah.
Okay, you both got that one
I
correct.
knew that one.
So 1 to 2.
Stardust.
Number 5. Which one of these things did not happen in Punisher's comic book history?
Ooh.
Either A, he had plastic surgery from a prostitute who turns Frank Castle black. B, he died and was brought back to life as an angel of death. C, he became blind and temporarily took over as the new Daredevil. D, died and was reconstructed by a vampire to become Frankencastle.
What the fuck?
I want to say D is the wrong one.
I don't know, because I could see them doing that just for funsies. Just because. I mean, shit. What are B and C? What are B and C?
What do you mean?
What are the...
B is died and was brought back to life as Angel of Death.
Okay.
And C, he became blind and temporarily took over as the new Daredevil during Matt Murdock's absence.
I'm just gonna say C, just to be different.
I think that might be right.
That actually was right.
Yes!
That was one I created. So 2 to 2. You actually are tied for once. Yes, he
We've
did.
been tied before.
Yep, probably. I'm not taking
Tied for
taking count.
0
Shut
on,
up.
there, on the Alan Rickman one.
Yeah.
So he had plastic surgeon from a prostitute,
I
which
knew
turned
that
him
one.
I did
as,
know
I know the
that one
first
was-
2 was true for sure.
and he did become the Angel
I
of
knew
Death.
that one as well.
And in recent history, he was killed by Wolverine's son to become Frankencastle, a
That's-
Frankenstein thing.
Yeah, I saw that one and I was like, because sometimes it kind of reminds me of like some of the Deadpool ones. Sometimes they just do it because it's fun.
Mhm.
Like it's just a fun story. Just because.
So, it's funny that the only one that actually kind of made sense was mine. But, you guys had these crazy ones that you guys all knew, so.
Yeah, I knew the first two for sure happened.
So we go to our final question, and this is, which of these Daredevil has dated a lot of characters in the Marvel Universe. Which one of these has he not dated?
Oh, God.
We have A, Elektra, B, Black Widow, C, Karen Page, or D, She-Hulk.
She-Hulk.
Yeah, She-Hulk.
Because
They
he
probably
gets with
did.
Karen Page in season 2. They already showed she was like wet and shivering, and it was a moment.
I guess it didn't help that I gave away
So
that Black
She-Hulk.
Widow was dated.
Yeah,
So
you,
yes.
you told us that.
So
one,
you tied,
Yeah.
and I don't
Yeah.
have a tiebreaker question. So you guys are tied for once.
Hooray.
Yay! We all win today.
All right.
Stay tuned next time for the trivia again.
Yeah, we're going to have to break this down.
All right, and so that ends our podcast. But before we go, I want to give some recommendations on some things you guys should check out. So, guys, you want to go ahead and give something?
You know what? I've been replaying Tales of Zestiria, so if you haven't played that, then play that. I started replaying Mass Effect in the last week or two, and I can't.
Is it the original or
The original,
Okay.
the first one. I had the PlayStation 3 trilogy, and I went back and played it. And if you haven't played it since the first one, you might be surprised at some of the stuff you just didn't remember, because there was a lot of cool stuff that I'm just 100% surprised because I didn't remember. And I've never went through and tried to do all those side quests because it's not like games right now where they just give you such a streamlined, easy side quest menu where it just tells you and pings the friggin' map. Like, you have to go into your journal and look and read the description and know where to go. But to me, that's actually really immersive, and I've never given it a chance. And then they have some cool Geth things that I didn't remember, like that one that's leaping on walls and ceilings and stuff that snipes you. I'm like, what the hell did I get sniped for? I'm like, how did I get sniped? And every time you aim your reticle over him, he starts to jump. And I'm like, dude, this is a pain in the ass. I didn't remember that.
I hit that.
There were some cool moments in there that I just 100% didn't remember, and I was genuinely surprised and excited and thought it was cool all over again. It's been out for a pretty long time, so you might be surprised again. Try playing
Yeah,
it.
definitely check it out. I've been in that game 2 or 3 times, or 3 or 4 times at this point, just because I love that game, and going through that entire series was just fun. It was just a blast.
I suggest doing that.
I'm almost done with Battlestar again. So I'm going to be watching, oh my god, I just had it in my brain and I lost it. The Sword of Truth Chronicles. The show is Legend of the Seeker. It's on Hulu. And I'm actually about to start reading the books. There's a shit ton of books by, I want to say, Terry Goodkind, I think. So I'm gonna watch it and then read, and then read those, and But it's a fun show, so I say check that out.
I'd recommend the first volume of Daredevil, in 2001,
That's
written
so
by
stupid.
Kevin
Why
Smith.
would you just be relevant to this whole podcast with your recommendations?
What the hell?
That's so
God.
messed up.
As I talked about, there is Guardian Devil, which is written by Kevin Smith. If you ever wonder why in the original Daredevil movie Kevin Smith was actually in it, it's because he wrote one of the first volumes of the Daredevil that we all know and love. It was also colored or drawn by Joe Quesada, who was actually the head of Marvel following that, and probably one of the reasons why Marvel has risen to where it is at this point. That, and check out his actual Daredevil that just followed it. I think there's an omnibus of Joe Quesada's work as Daredevil, from Daredevil, which has all this crazy stuff going on in it. And I could be wrong. I can't remember if it was Joe Quesada who did the omnibus on that one.
I'll find out.
But yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching episode 25 of the Super Mega Ultra podcast. Be sure to check out us next week when we go Batman versus Superman.
Oh shit.
What will happen in this new movie? Who's going to win?
Yeah.
Who cares if it's going to win?
I'm ready for it.
Team Under Roofs.
We're going to talk about all of our theories and stuff that's going to happen next time on the Super Mega Ultra podcast.